Redditors who cook, what's the biggest no thing in cooking? Glass cutting boards, like seriously, just GTFO. And in a similar vein, dangerously dull knives. I've seen some real bludgeons in other people's kitchens, no wonder they hate prep work. I have a small glass cutting board but I don't actually use it for cutting. It's next to my stove and is my designated I need to set the spoon down area because it's easy to clean. That's all it's good for really. Oh, that's a good idea actually. Don't let your baking powder get clumpy. Tiny rocks of baking powder ruin anything you bake. Have done it? Biting into clumps of baking powder sends shivers down my spine. Was your body aching all the time? Mama UFH. Cutting with a dull knife. Get yourself a sharpener, even if it's a cheap one. Nah, just get a new knife and save the dull one for the bathroom. This guy poop knives. Poop knife is making a comeback. Must be new merch releasing for the holidays. For the love of God, stop mucking about with whatever it is you're cooking. Unless it's something you specifically need to be mixing or stirring constantly, leave it alone. You'll never get proper color on things if they make more contact with your spatula than your pan. This is how I always fuck up pancakes. They are so simple but for some ungodly reason I have a compulsive need to try to flip them when I know that shit shouldn't be touched yet. Edit, yes, I know when it bubbles you flip it. I said I have a compulsive need to try to flip it even though I know it's not time. Chef for 10 years, here's some good things to keep in mind when cooking at home. Clean as you go. It minimizes clutter and mess and makes everything easier. Sharpen your damn knives. Seriously, dull knives are dangerous as fuck. Blenders are not just for smoothies, use them for sauces and your life will be changed. Please stack your fridge appropriately so cross-contamination doesn't happen. Veggies and fruit on top, also eggs is fine, beef, fish, poultry. Chicken juice will contaminate raw veggies so quick. You don't need a fucking knife block. I'm a chef for a living, I butcher 10 to 20 ducks a week and I have 6 knives. Even that is just cause I'm very particular. Your average home chef needs 3 at most. A standard length chef knife, a paring knife which most home chefs never use from what I've seen, and a medium-size blade for veggies can be nice. Label and date when you open stuff and keep it near the front. Keeping it near the front is most important as it helps encourage you to remember, ah yes, I have this kale that I should use before you open something else. Olive oil can go bad. Lots of people think it can't, but it can. Canned stuff isn't the worst, just mix it with fresh stuff. Diversify what ingredients you're using. Most Americans and Europeans cook with the same 20 things. Every time you go to the grocery store, pick up a new ingredient and try it out. Beets. Amazing. Like mushrooms. Try oyster mushrooms instead of generic shiitakes. Like onions. Grab a leek. Seriously, change it up. Wading into more professional territory, but try some fermentation. Lots of great stuff out there, but I'd recommend kimchi. If you want to get serious, buy the Noma Guide to Fermentation and actually read it. Best $30 you'll ever spend. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. Medium rare chicken, works for steaks, but not for hen. Buffalo Wild Wings seems to think it's okay. Buffalo Wild Wings thought black slimy salad was okay too. Explains why my waitress tried to talk me out of ordering my dressing on the side. Cranking the heat to reduce the cooking time will leave you with a burned outside and an underdone inside. Can I give you my mother-in-law's number? You don't have to be polite. She is always on the run and never has enough time to cook, yet always insists on cooking meals that take 3x more time than she has available, so she shortcuts the fuck out of every meal and they always turn out horribly. Just this weekend the family went to an apple orchard for most of the day and we were going to eat dinner at a nearby friend's house. Instead of doing the logical thing, like planning a dinner that doesn't need to cook all day or hell, something crazy like just ordering fucking pizza, she decides she wants pulled pork. So she throws the pork in the slow cooker and plugs it into a power inverter in their car and then leaves it in there for 5 hours, one of which was driving and 4 of which were with it parked in the parking lot, with the ignition turned off and therefore no power to the inverter. Of course when we got to the friend's house this was all revealed to me. She was saying how the pork didn't cook and trying to figure out how we could quickly cook it. She said she thought it would just run off the battery in the car. Infuriating. I had a roommate once who was doing a recipe with sautéed onions. He was scorching the heck out of them, and I told him that his dish would taste a lot better if he cooled the pan a little and did a nice slow caramelization. He told me he didn't care if it tasted good or not. I still don't know how to respond to that. Incorrectly storing ingredients. Seriously, you can get ill if you let raw shishkin juice drip on your salad in the fridge. Then, cut meat and veg on separate boards. Cross-contamination is such a huge deal in cooking. Like no, you can't cut veg on the same board you just cut a raw steak on. You trying to make everyone sick? Edit. Okay, to clarify, steak wasn't a good choice for examples, chicken is the more obvious one due to salmonella. And yes, if everything is being cooked right after, so long as everything is cooked to the right temperature, it's fine. Just be sure to wash the cutting board thoroughly and sanitize your tools. Technically you can, if you cut the veggies first and they are put away. Your steak is not gonna get contaminated by onion and pepper juice. Edit. Just for the record, this applies only to your home kitchen. In all the years I've been prepping food that I've used a single cutting board to cut up some veggies and then cut up steak or chicken that was all going to end up in the same pan. I've never gotten sick or had an issue. I can understand being meticulous with food prep regulations in a commercial kitchen or restaurant because the likelihood of contamination is that much higher. Are damned important. And, no, I'd never prep a salad on the same cutting board after already using it for meat. I'd either clean it out, or switch to another board, which some people in small kitchens don't really have the luxury of. Don't grab something that is on the stove without a towel or some type of heat protection. Don't combine water and hot oil. If a grease fire starts, don't use water to try to put it out. Salt, a baking sheet, or a dry towel might work if you don't have a fire extinguisher. Don't season a liquid before reducing it, it will become too salty after you reduce it. Don't use a cold pan to sear something, get the pan hot first, better sear. Don't use extra virgin olive oil when you're using high heats, it will burn. Don't cut meat immediately after cooking it, more juices will flow out, the meat will become drier. Wait a few minutes. Don't hold an object with your fingers extended when you're cutting it. You're less likely to seriously cut your fingers if you curl your fingers like a claw. Don't use a sharp knife on metal, like a pie tin or steel counter, or glass or marble. Don't use a nice knife on anything other than food. A common offense would be opening a food package with it. Don't send a nice knife through a dishwasher. Don't leave a sharp knife in the sink. Don't leave a knife wet, even ones claiming to be stainless will often rust if left wet. Don't follow a recipe too religiously. If it doesn't taste well to you, don't leave it because you followed the recipe exactly. If a grease fire starts, don't use water to try to put it out. Salt, a baking sheet, or a dry towel might work if you don't have a fire extinguisher. The pot's lid is the best one. Learn this the hard way, don't throw fresh chili peppers into a hot pan unless you want to pepper spray the whole house. Have you ever cooked Indian food? Pepper spray is just part of the experience. A tadka is not a tadka unless the people in your house start sneezing. Do not mix hot cooking oil and cool sink water. I saw a girl burn the hell out of herself because she didn't listen to the home EC teacher. She threw her hot oil in a sink with some cool water running. Boom. Sprayed hot oil all over her arm and neck. Let your oil cool, folks. Just never pour your oil in the sink at all, WTF, it will clog your shit up so fast. What is the best way of dealing with used oil? I know restaurants can get it collected, but that's gallons and gallons of the stuff. I've been putting fat in the fridge till it hardens and throwing it away when I take the bins out. Don't rinse your pasta. Pasta should never, ever be rinsed for a warm dish. The starch in the water is what helps the sauce adhere to your pasta. The only time you should ever rinse your pasta is when you are going to use it in a cold dish like a pasta salad, or when you are not going to use it immediately. Everything else I read here seemed like common sense. But I guess I've been doing pasta wrong my whole life. Honestly, you should be adding a bit of that starchy pasta water to most of your sauces. Cooking everything on high because you want it done faster. One of the best descriptions of this, I believe, was from Alton Brown. The way he worded it, extremely paraphrased, of course, was to consider time and temperature as if they were ingredients themselves. You can't alter them any more than any other ingredient and expect the result to come out correctly. I think a big problem is the variability in a recipe when it says cook on medium-high with no reference to the type of range. It could be shitty electric coil range that takes 15 minutes to caramelize brown onions, or my aunt's gas stove could do it in like 5 because the low setting is basically met high on other stoves. Basically temperature is so ambiguous unless you plan on probing every 30 seconds or something ridiculous. If you cook enough you can go off of intuition, taste, smell, and look without really having to know the exact time or temperature.